Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, EQA Nostalgia here, and today I want to talk to you guys about RuneScape. And I'm sure there's many of you who've seen this video up and you were just kind of wondering, why the hell would he talk about RuneScape? I mean, it's 2015, the game came out in 2001, I think it started production in like 1998, it's an old game, right? But a lot of people have played it, and you know, in my previous video I mentioned it a little bit, and then after I watched that video, I said, hey, I wonder what the hell RuneScape's been up to anyway. So I did a little bit of a search, and I found out that there is actually a private RuneScape server that is classic RuneScape, something I never personally got to play, and it runs on Android and PC. Now that right there just instantly was like, I gotta check this out, because I've been looking for something on Android that plays like RuneScape. I've actually gone into the Google Play Store and done a search for RuneScape, just hoping maybe Jagex put something out. Obviously they didn't, but nevertheless I found out about this through Reddit, something that somebody had posted about it, and immediately I was excited. And some people are probably just like, dude, really? It's fucking RuneScape. And the thing about RuneScape is, most people that played it and they no longer play it, they've moved on to something else. They kind of shun the game. It's weird. It's one of those things where like, crap, RuneScape, I don't play that. This shit's for newbies now, you know. I've like moved on. The same thing with World of Warcraft. It's got that kind of reputation where people are kind of ashamed to admit that they ever played it, which I don't really understand that. It's always been kind of strange to me. But, you know, nevertheless, it is something that happens. So the website that's doing this is called RSC Revolution, and I'm going to put a link in the description so you guys can check that out. As you know, RuneScape runs in a browser. You can download the client, and it's one of those games that just, it runs really fast. You click it, and basically the game's ready to go. The longest it takes to do anything is to create a username. But I always thought it was unfortunate the way people just kind of looked at the game after a while, and it became, maybe it's just from my personal experience, maybe this isn't something that everybody has experienced. It just became something that everybody kind of mocked and made fun of, and they moved on from it. You know, kind of like when people used to watch like Nickelodeon, and then they started watching MTV or something like that, and they're like, oh, Nickelodeon's for kids. Only kids watch that shit, I don't watch that anymore. Or, you know, moving on from like a childhood program and then making fun of it. It's kind of something like that. I think that's how that starts. Maybe that's an analogy only people are going to know from 80s and 90s. I don't even know if people watch MTV anymore. I certainly don't. But anyway, I digress. The point of this video is to talk about how I got into RuneScape back in the day, why I think it's still a really awesome game, despite it obviously being dated, and to also bring some awareness around that there is a classic private server up. You don't have to pay anything. They do have a subscription fee, I think, like an optional one. I'm not sure what that entails. I haven't really dug into it to see what it's all about, but you can just hop in and start playing for free. And all the member benefits that you had to pay for in RuneScape, apparently those are available to you. So I don't know what you would be paying for. Obviously there's some sort of incentive other than the original member fee stuff. But anyway, the main draw for me is being able to play it on a mobile device. I can go to work, you know, on my lunch break, and I can sit at Subway and get down on some RuneScape, which is just really cool to me. I don't know why it is, but I guess because back in the day we didn't have that kind of luxury. You were forced to sit in front of the computer if you wanted to play it. Now it's on the go. There's just a certain novelty in that for me. Being able to take a former PC-only game and playing it on my Android somewhere else. You know, I can go upstairs. I can get out of the game room and just hang out in my bedroom and play it up there if maybe I want to just kick back a little bit. But right now I just want to tell you guys about how I got into RuneScape. I suppose it was about 2006 or 2007. I'm not sure when, right around there in general timeline. I had a magazine, I can't remember which magazine it was. I think it was Beckett, Massive Multiplayer Online Magazine. But there was an article in there that was titled The Little Browser MMO That Could. And I checked it out, and the game looked you know, obviously the graphics weren't that great. It kind of reminded me of The Sims just looking at it. But as I read about it, it said you could do all this shit like cooking and crafting and all sorts of things like that that I've always been interested in games. And back then, there wasn't really much crafting in games that I had experienced. I hadn't gotten into World of Warcraft just yet. So my experience with MMOs was pretty much just EverQuest Online Adventures. I hadn't played anything else outside of that. So RuneScape was the second MMO I got into. And at this time I had a really shitty computer. It was like one of the first computers I ever had. I think it was pretty much the first computer I ever had. My sister gave me one that was just like 1991 or something, just a total piece of shit that I held on to for just browsing, and I got rid of that. Somebody had sold me their computer for like 20 bucks at work. I'm talking, this thing was a toaster. I didn't even think it was going to run RuneScape, but it did. It ran it because it ran in the browser, so it wasn't too like hardware intensive. It ran really smooth, and I don't recall any like hitching or lagging or anything like that. So I got the game, and I really enjoyed it. I genuinely had fun with it. It was just more of a laid-back kind of game, and I think that's what pulled me into it. I mean, I knew that people were doing PK, player killing, which is, you know, PvP. In case you hadn't played RuneScape, there was a zone called the Wilderness where you could go up there, and it was just chaos. And the cool thing about PK is that it's really dangerous. Like, if you die out there, you drop like most of your shit. Like, you could put like a safety on some of your stuff. I'm not sure if you could in Classic, because like I said, I didn't start with Classic. I started with RuneScape 2. And it was just, it was one of those things that just got your blood pumping, and it's so funny because it is such a like a graphically poor game, you know, and it looked like just like a poor man's version of The Sims. But it gave you an adrenaline rush when you were up there, and as you started going further up through the levels, like Wilderness 1 and 2 and stuff like that, shit just started to get real. If you saw other players, you're like, oh shit, and you try to run away because you don't want to lose your gear. And they can, remember I said they could loot your body. So, and the cool thing about it though is that you could loot them too. So it was like a risk versus reward thing, and you just don't get that really anymore. When you die in a game, nobody can really loot you. Like, I believe Ultima Online had that going for it back in the day. But this was just, you know, I never played Ultima Online, so this was my first PvP experience with games, and it just blew me away. I mean, I remember going up there getting destroyed and losing everything, and to the point where I just wanted to quit the game, but I didn't. I hung in there. I got my gear back. I made some friends, and we would go up there and just roll on people and divide the loot. And it was just so much fun to me to do that. And like I said, the game was really relaxing. When you weren't out there doing PvP, you could just chill and craft. It's just one of those games that's really mellow and laid back. And the music, I absolutely, still to this day, I love RuneScape music. When I hear it, it gives me almost as much nostalgia as when I hear like EverQuest Online Adventures music. I love RuneScape music. I can't stress that enough. I'll probably have some playing after I finish the video. I'll put that in later. Another one of the things that I really liked about RuneScape was that you could become well known. You could kind of become famous or infamous if you were really good at PvP and you killed a lot of people. Everybody started to talk about you. You know, you would have people that would hate you, or people that would celebrate your name when you came around. And it was just really cool. You don't really have a lot of that in games anymore. Like, people, like, there'll be like guilds that take down a boss first, and people care about it for like 5 minutes, and then nobody gives a shit anymore. But with RuneScape, people that got famous through RuneScape, people still know who they are to this day. I mean, they're on the wiki page. There's, you know, they've left like a paper trail. You know, people know who they are still. For example, there was a guy who played named Fat Wrecked, and everybody knew who he was. I think he was ranked 3rd on the server, or in the game. I can't say server. There's multiple servers. You can join whichever one you like, provided you had a membership. But anyway, a lot of people knew him, and unfortunately he passed away, and that only made his legend even greater because everybody remembered him really fondly. I never knew him, but I've seen some of the YouTube videos he had. His father's actually got like a memorial channel up where he talks about his son and, you know, how he was a really big RuneScape player. It's just stuff like that that's really cool. It's really touching. Obviously, it's really sad that he passed away, but people celebrate him. Like, they're like, "Oh man, we remember him. He was great," you know. And you just don't get that in games anymore. It just doesn't happen. And on this private server, RSC Revolution, you can take a look at who's ranked, you know, the top players, and their names are up there right now. So they're well known within their community now. So that's still being carried on today. I don't know if it's still a thing with current RuneScape 3. I would imagine it would still be, but probably not the same as it was back in the day. Another one of the cool things that I always liked were the party hats, and they were so simple. It looked like they looked like crowns, like something you would get from Burger King, like one of those cardboard cutouts that you got as a kid at Burger King. They were just, you know, they didn't look that great, but if you had one, they were so rare and they were worth so much money that people would just stop and be like, "Oh wow, this guy's got a party hat." It was a big deal, and there's always something about that I liked, because again, going back to EverQuest Online Adventures, we had the same kind of thing back then, where if somebody had something, you know, people would stop and ask you about it. Like the first time I had a crystalline orb, it was a shield that used to glow in EQOA. People would stop and say, "Where did you get that? How did you get that?" You know, I remember having somebody follow me around, just would not leave me alone, asking, you know, "Please sell that to me," or "Give it to me, give it to me." And it became a curse to where I didn't even wear it until you know, the craze for the crystalline orb kind of died down, because it drew that much attention. So most of it was positive, but some of it was negative, and the same thing happened with party hats. These days, there's been like duping glitches, and party hats, they're not what they used to be. But it never really is with MMOs. That's something that I realized a long time ago. They don't really retain that special moment. You only have so many years of really pure awesomeness, and then, you know, it kind of starts to go downhill. Even now, when I get on there, it's not the same as it was back then, but it's still really awesome. So I definitely encourage you guys to check it out. If it's something that you were into back in the day, I encourage you to check it out. If you never got the chance to play Classic, because I believe you had to be a member just to check it out, and for the longest time, Classic was actually locked away. I remember asking a friend I worked with, because he was a die-hard RuneScape player, and once I mentioned I was playing it, he was like, "Oh man," you know, he showed me a bunch of stuff, quests and how to get gear and all that shit. I asked him, how do you get on the Classic servers? Because I had seen, you know, the screenshots of it, and it looked kind of cool. You know, it looked very different. You know, not as well made graphically, but it just looked cool. It's something I wanted to try out. And you couldn't do it unless you had actually been a member from like years before. It was exclusive to people that had actually been there. So it was like this forbidden mode that I never got to play. Then later on it got opened up through, you know, being a member, and I just, you know, I didn't, by that time I wasn't really playing much anymore, and I didn't really care to drop like the $5 or $10 to pay for it. But now it's open to the public. You can get in there, you can check it out. And anybody that's interested in playing with me, I am definitely the kind of person who will get down on playing with multiple people on RuneScape. It's just a game that's really, for me, has always been really social. People for the most part have been friendly on there. I remember there was an incident back in the day where I had really nice armor. I can't remember what armor it was, but it was freaking sweet. I think it was like like wizard type gear. It's been a long time, but anyway, these people came up to me like, "Oh, that's awesome gear you got there, buddy." He's like, "Hey, how about you come out to us with us to the wilderness, and we can go, you know, we can go PKing together." And I just like, what do I got? Fucking complete dumbass written on my robe here? I'm not gonna go up there with you so you can gank all my shit, dude. I'm not stupid. And then they just started swearing at me, but there's another story I just remembered. So, you know, there are some shady individuals. Some people would set up like casinos and they'd steal your money and try to trick you and dupe you into giving them things. Like there was one thing people used to play called the trust game. You give me like 2K and I'll give you 4. Yeah, right. You know, get the fuck out of here. But people always fell for that stuff. And another negative aspect, I hate to bring these up, but if I'm going to talk about RuneScape, I have to do it, are the bots. And I think that's the one thing that really made me stop playing. Once I realized how many bots were in the game and the fact that no matter how much Jagex tried to get rid of them, they were still there, I just got sick and tired of it and I stopped playing because I remember going back and forth and mining, and you would just see lines and lines of these fucking bots walking back and forth, and they'd walk up and steal the nodes that you were going to, and it was so frustrating, man. It always got on my nerves, but you know, people did that, and it's unfortunate because I think it was a major bane. Even to this day, I think it still happens in RuneScape 3. I haven't seen any yet on the private server, but I'm sure there will be. With the private server, though, the thing that's cool is that you've got moderators that really do care. It's more of a personal thing. You know, if they see bots, they're gonna squash that shit. I can almost guarantee it. And I've seen the ban section on the forums, and there's a lot of people that are appealing, saying, "I'll never bot again." So, there are probably bots, but it looks like they take care of it more than Jagex because it's just one small community. And whenever you have a small community, you obviously have a tight community. I've been playing probably about 30 minutes, and already I've had 2 people come up to me and talk to me like they've known me forever. You know, "Hey, what's going on, buddy? How you doing, man?" I'm like, "Hey, you know, I just got on the server. I haven't played RuneScape in years." And this guy's like, "Oh yeah, I know the feeling. I just got back a couple days ago. Hey, you want some money?" And he just handed over 3K. I was like, "Jeez, thanks, man. You know, it was really nice of you." And on the friends list he went, and I'm sure I'll see him again. We'll probably go crafting together or something. This other dude came up to me and I couldn't remember how to start fires. You gotta drop the logs on the ground and then hit them with the tinder box. He's like, "Oh yeah, you gotta just," you know, he told me what to do. And we hung out for a little while just chopping down trees and getting our fire making skill up. But it's things like that. It's just really cool. It just, as I'm doing this, it dawned on me that you don't really get that in modern games. It's a quality that's just missing from games. It just doesn't really happen anymore. And I guess you got to go back to basics with games like RuneScape for a community to be tight like that and to be really chill. But anyway, I've pretty much said what I had to say about it. I don't want this video to go on much longer. If you are new to my channel and you just happen to stumble across this video, I ask that you please subscribe, leave a like. It always helps me out, and I do appreciate it. I thank you guys for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.